Well, thank you guys, and thank you so much for having me. I've really looked forward to coming and visiting. I enjoyed the lunch yesterday, and like I said, it's just great to be with you. I want to just take a second to thank you all. You know, we talk about some of the opportunities, the challenges that we have. The way you solve those is through organizations like this. I'm represent the state of Arkansas, but also in the position I'm in, I represent the agricultural community, and we take that very, very seriously. We're the tip of the spears. We're trying to get the things done that you would like to have us get done, but you can't do that without the grassroots. You're the leaders out there, you're the leaders here, you're the leaders in your communities, and that's a big, big deal. So we appreciate the great work that you all do as we work with the Farm Bill, pressing forward, getting the things that are good for you all, good, not only good for you, but also good for rural America. I really enjoyed the discussion over here about the, farm life. My girls were all active in 4-H, were all state record book winners and this and that. I had a bunch of cows and they were showing cows. I actually like my cows though. In fact, I think I'm the only person in Congress that has an AI certificate. I was the bull at my place for several years. But I appreciate the quality of life. And so we're in a situation now in Arkansas, agriculture probably represents 25% of the economy. It's huge. That's true in your all state. It's a huge part of your economy, but there's getting to be where there's not very many farmers. You get outside of any town of any size in Arkansas, it's not 25% of the economy, it's probably 85 or 90% of the economy, okay? The problem is, as we do this census, this go-round, like the census last time, more than half of the counties in Arkansas will lose significant population. So you're going to start, you lose turnback dollars. And so you're in a difficult situation anyway with communities. And so as a result, you lose those dollars and you start this downward spiral. So it's something we've got to address. We've got to support the farm community because the farm community is rural America, our rural communities. And so you got to do that in a number of different ways. You've got to do it with working hard to make sure you've got good schools, quality of life issues. You've got to have you've got to have medical care, hospital care, things like that. That's what people look for as they come back and decide if they're going to settle in your community. So these are just simple truths that we have to address. The other problem that we've got, is that the average age of the farmer is what? What is it, Fitz? 58? Something like that. You all, one of our extension agents or whatever would know, but it's like 57, 58, 59 years old. So this is just, the demographics are not favoring us in the future because I've got 3 grown daughters. What's happening now, my wife and I started dating when we were 16, dated for 5 years and got married. Now people are getting married much later, and as a result of that, whether they're farming or whatever career they're in, many times they get involved there, they're just having children later, and so they're having many fewer children than they used to. So these are all things that we've got to work through, but agriculture is the key to it. This is something that I'm very passionate about. It is all about rural America, which I think is so very important, not only for you, but it's important for the country as a whole. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what we've been doing. First of all, Fitz Elder's with me. Stand up and wave your hand. You need to be nice to him. He's the staff director of our Senate Ag Committee. He's the one that does all the work. So, what are we doing? One of the things that the Senate does that's a little bit different than the House, it's very different, is that we're in the personnel business. So when the President nominates somebody to head an agency, or when he nominates somebody as an undersecretary or whatever, that has to go through the Senate. So the Ag Committee's been really busy trying to get those nominees out. I believe that you can vote for a president. Whoever the president is has the right to have the people around him that he needs to get the job done. And so we worked really hard to have timely hearings. We're a little bit behind, not because myself and Senator Stabenow haven't been working together to get these nominees out. It's because we have to have their paperwork. They have to do FBI checks. You can imagine how difficult it is, and they have to examine all of their business transactions, things like that. So we're working hard to get that caught up because that's very, very important. Oversight is also important. We're looking at our trade agreements, either officially or unofficially, making sure the United States is pretty good about making agreements. We stick to them, and then the other side doesn't stick to them. And the Chinese have a tendency, Chinese government, not the Chinese people, the Chinese government lie, cheat, steal, manipulate. They don't keep their word. I used to have an old coach that said there's two kinds of people, givers and takers. They're the definition of takers. And the reason they're that way is that they have this huge population. They have to create 20 some odd million jobs a year. They just can't, they're smart people that can develop technology. They don't have the luxury of waiting, so they'll get it any way they can get it. So again, we're working hard to try and hold their feet to the fire. President Trump got serious with them. He got their attention and made it such that they need about 6% economy to grow and prosper. Again, creating these jobs. And with the tariffs and this and that, he made it such that they went down to about 3% and really did impact it. They came to the table, and we're benefiting from that now in the sense of all of the goods that we're all of the agricultural commodities that we're serving and selling. In Arkansas, ag exports are about 40% of what our farmers produce. I know that's probably true in your states. That's one of the things that is so very important, not only protecting the markets that we've got, but creating new markets as we go forward. So that's something that we all have to work together. We've been working hard on places like Cuba, the EU, various Asian countries. The list goes on, but we have to think in terms of the mentality that we got one customer here and we got 200 someplace else, that we've got to get stuff done. And nobody does a better job of that than the American farmer. The last Congress, we did get into the trade wars. We had very low commodity prices for all kinds of different reasons. The good news is Congress stepped up and did a good job of supporting our farm community. That happened because of organizations like this. You all are members of this organization. You're members of various other farm organizations coming together and again pushing hard, explaining to Congress the importance of these things. We were able to pass the last farm bill, Senator Roberts, Senator Stabenow working together, our House colleagues working together on the other side, passed a farm bill that got a record number of votes, both in the House and the Senate. We can be very proud of that. And again, that was the farm organizations explaining to their congressmen, explaining to thea senators why we need to go forward. We do that, but there's not a lot of farmers in Congress right now. There's not a lot of people have any experience on the ag committees either. So we have to educate, and like I said, I think we've done a pretty good job of that. You all have done a good job of that. If you're reading the newspaper at all right now, you're hearing about infrastructure. And so infrastructure is something that traditionally Republicans and Democrats have come together and done a good job of supporting. Every 5 years or so, we have a big 5-year package that we put together. This is done every 5 years forever. Doesn't have anything, it's not the infrastructure package that we're talking about now, although it's included. The last infrastructure package like that we passed 6 years ago, the two people that headlined it, the two people that got it going were Barbara Boxer from California and Jim Inhofe from Oklahoma. They have absolutely nothing in common at all politically, except for the fact that they believe that the country needs to spend on infrastructure. So we'd like to get something done. We all know that we need to do these things. The question is, how much can you spend? What is appropriate? What's responsible? Because there is a finite amount of money. And then also, what are the pay-fors? You know, how do you pay for this? And there's been all kinds of talk. I'm not one for making it such that we're going to sick the IRS on everyone to get every last cent that they can out of them. That's the last thing we need to do for our small business, medium-sized businesses. The big businesses have the lawyers and they're able to fight that stuff. For most of us, that's a tremendous hassle. So we just have to watch that. I don't know what's going to come of it. I don't know if it's going to pass or not. But I do know this, and it's important, that right now people are negotiating in good faith, trying to get it done. The other thing that's looming out there is the big $3.5 trillion cradle-to-grave bill, the family bill. And that is, to put it in perspective, the entire federal discretionary budget is $1.5 trillion. This is $3.5 trillion. The discretionary budget of the United States, that would be all the ag programs, that would be all of our military expenditures, that would be all of the education expenditures, all of our law enforcement expenditures, really everything except Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, things like that. So we're talking about a massive amount of money. Earlier in the year, they passed a bill that was $1.9 trillion, a COVID package. The problem is much of it doesn't start even getting spent till 2023. So not so much COVID related. So there's all of this money, you know, that we're talking about pushing out. And you have to, again, like I say, look and see, is it responsible? And I don't think $3.5 trillion is responsible. But also you have to look at the pay-fors. Somebody mentioned in the last meeting about the stepped-up basis. That's one of the things that they're really looking for, because that would generate a tremendous amount of money. Right now, if you die, the basis, your property's value comes up to the day of your death. Okay. What this would do would be such that you die, and you know, maybe you're inheriting it from your parents. They bought the farm in 1950, then you're going to have to pay the increase in the value from 1950 up to right now. You can imagine what that would do. We knew that was a problem. We hired a guy named John Newton, who was the American Farm Bureau economist. It's one thing for me to say these things, you know. It's another thing for somebody that's such a well-respected economist. So I said, John, you know, what's this going to do? And he kind of did some numbers and said, this is bad. And so I said, well, find somebody else, you know, to back that up. So we asked Texas A&M to do a study. Dr. Outlaw there, who's very well-respected in the ag world as far as all kinds of things, but particularly economics. They follow a number of different farms throughout the country. You say, well, John, why didn't you ask Arkansas to do it, or Mississippi State, or someplace else? There's only a few universities that actually truly specialize in this area. Texas A&M is one of those. So they followed 94 farms. Changing the stepped-up basis the way that they're proposing would make it such that of the 94 farms that they follow, 92% would be affected dramatically. The average would be an increase of about $720,000 owed, okay? The other way that is being proposed is increasing stepped-up basis, and then also you pay that, plus you still pay the inheritance tax that we have now. And what they're talking about is dramatically decreasing that threshold to make more people susceptible. And what'd you tell me, Fitz, what would that be?
It would still impact 98% of farms, but the average tax consequence would be 1.4 million.
1.4. Okay, so if you did stepped up basis plus this other change to the inheritance tax, you have the potential of the average being about $1.4 million on 92 of those 94 farms. And you say, well, John, why didn't those 2%, what happened to them, you know, or the two farms? They didn't own any property. They were farming, but like I say, didn't own property. So this is a big deal. The other thing is they're talking about doubling the capital gains. Right now it's at 20%, go to 40%. 3.7% is added that for Medicare. So you're talking about, 43, 44%. In Arkansas, you're going to get hit with another 5.9%, talking about 50%. So it's not fair. And you have a situation, you work hard, your farm, your small business, it's not only your farm and your business, it's your life savings, it's every spare moment, it's your 401k, it's your pension plan, the whole deal. You're going to wind up being taxed at a much greater rate than if you were pulling out of a 401k or a pension plan on a basis. So these are really big things that we need to look at, and we're going to need your support, and we have it, but we're going to need your continued support to really push back. We've had all of this tragedy that's happened as a result of COVID, and one of the bright spots has been broadband. We've seen with telecommuting, teleeducation, and then very importantly, telehealth. I mentioned how important it was to be able to provide good medical care in rural America, rural communities. And so, that's where we've been able to break down a lot of barriers. Telemedicine works very, very well. And so as a result, we do recognize now, when you think of transportation, when you think of infrastructure, as a community, as an area, as a business, you just can't do it unless you're wired. So we've spent a lot of money in the last year. There's going to be a lot more money in the horizon coming out. That's a good thing. We can talk about a lot of problems that are very, very difficult to solve. On the other hand, broadband is something we can fix. That's like rural electrification. And so we got a lot of people working together to do that. We're pushing a lot of money out. We don't want to just throw money at the problem, though. We want to make sure that the people that are going to get those dollars initially are the people that truly are underserved, okay? So that's a real positive. It's easy to get down. I enjoyed the lunch and enjoyed the talk about the manna, the bars that peanuts and butter and a few more goodies thrown in there. I'm a co-chair of the Hunger Caucus in the Senate, so I'm very active in those spaces. That truly is, I think you'd call it a drug in what it's used for. But seeing those malnourished children, start eating that stuff, and literally in a matter of hours, start to get a little spark, this and that, and then growing into that. So again, those are things we can be very proud of. And I say that because we see the pictures, we understand the need in the rest of the country. We always have to remember, like, we're the greatest, freest country the world's ever known, and the Lord has truly blessed us. That didn't just happen, though. That happened through a lot of hard work from a lot of different people, from our military, again, to folks like you, all of us, just ordinary people, doing the best that we can do. That's really what it's all about. So like I say, that's a real blessing. I'll be glad to answer any couple of easy questions if you got any. Anybody got anything? This is your time to grab me by the lapels. Yes, sir.
I just want to make one comment on the stepped-up basis. When we work as hard as we do, not spend, this is not just for me. This is our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents. And I'll use the word wealth that I'll hopefully have amassed in 30 or 40 years. But my parents, some of what my parents have is multi-generational monies that weren't spent, could have been.
No, you're right.
That help form who we are, and it's not just about what's current, but what we enjoy, have used to survive. This is almost pushing hundreds of years of being conservative. So that was the only just comment I had on the stepped up.
I agree with you totally. And then again, you have to add in this inheritance thing also that we don't talk enough. In the land exchange, right now, you benefit from being able to use the land exchange provision and avoid taxes. So these truly are, as I said, and as you're saying, it's a fairness issue. It is a dramatic change. So it's a big deal. Right now, the administration, it's climate, climate, climate. We can be proud. The farm community emits about 10% of the CO2, but it also feeds 100%. So you produce the food for 100% of the folks in America and much of the world. You can be, like I say, very, very proud of that. We passed a bill the other day, 92-8. It's called Growing Climate Solutions. And what that does is, and this is important, is all it does is make it such for those of you that would like to, at some point, explore or participate. After exploring, you get enough information, is this something that works on my farm or not? Strictly voluntary. And then also, very importantly, not government run, but in the private sector, okay? It gives you the opportunity to get the information that you're going to need, and then actually USDA coming in and help you getting set up if you're going to go down that path. And so that's really what it's all about. I think it gives you another tool in your toolbox. With forestry, it looks like carbon sequestration, might be something that really would benefit those of us that are into forestry. It's difficult with row crops. It's right now the amount of money that people are paying per ton of carbon, it makes it really difficult to come out. Although many of you are doing those practices anyway, if you're going to do them, let's reimburse you for them. So that's something that we worked hard to make sure that we had a good bill. When we inherited the bill, we looked, and it's got a panel of people that provides information, as to how things are going to go. Well, we looked at the makeup of the panel, and only about 30% were farmers. There were hedge funds and academics, and those are all fine, but we wanted to make sure that the panel was going to be run by the farm community. So we were able to clean that up. We made sure that we weren't reopening the farm bill, which I'm very much opposed to. So, like I say, that's something else that's out there. I agree totally. Listening to the meeting previously, and we're going to see it unleashed now, waters of the U.S., those kind of things, the regulatory atmosphere coming back that we worked so hard to tamp down. You can play with bad rules, you can play with good rules. If you don't really know what the rules are going to be, except you know that they're probably going to be worse, it freezes everybody, okay? It really does, just puts a wet blanket on the economy. You're not going to do the things you need to do if you're very concerned about, and should be concerned about, additional regulation as we go forward. So those are really very real things. Anybody else got anything?
Senator, following up on your last comments there, I feel like in some ways we're almost fighting with a light bulb on. When you look at the executive order on competition and go right 30 by 30, there's lots of words, there's lots of phrases in there, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really say anything yet. We really don't know what the reconciliation. The way I understand it is we're going to pass it and we'll figure out how to pay for it later.
Yeah.
So we know there are troublesome things on the horizon, but we don't know where to punch just yet. I'd love to hear your comments on that.
No, I agree with you totally. Lots of, as you say, very broad, speech about doing this. I'll give you a good example. There's pressure now in this huge $3.5 trillion bill to increase conservation by $50 billion. So you're essentially doubling the conservation bill with no hearings about that. What does conservation mean? I mean, there's all kinds of programs within the conservation title. So what are we going to do with that? Is this a mechanism for the 30 by 30? 30 by 30 is making it such that 30% of the land and water in the United States will be put into conservation by 2030. 2030 is upon us. How do you do that? The last 7 or 8 years have really been tough in agriculture, and we've got like a 4 million acre potential sign up that people aren't participating in. Okay, so we weren't participating to the full extent in the bad times. Now with commodity prices rising, how are you going to get those folks to even do more? It's going to be very, very difficult. So you wonder, is this $50 billion? Is that such that you're going to push so much money in there? What's that going to do to rents? What's it going to do as you idle good land? We've worked so hard. I mentioned the trade agreements, to get good trade agreements passed, and then if you don't have as much product, you're going to lose market. Back in the old days, that didn't matter because the United States was such the big dog, such the producer, we were agriculture. Now there's so many other folks out in the world that are doing a good job, that can do a better job if they've got access to markets. That's a real problem. The other thing is if you're idling land like that in order for us to have a better climate, the American farmer is so much more efficient than these folks overseas. You're per acre, you're able to do so much more. There's no way that they're going to grow the food and do it as efficiently. They're going to produce a lot more CO2, cutting the rainforest, this and that, than anything we would do. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for lots of reasons. But I agree with you, we have to really be careful about that. And that's really where we're going to have to make sure that we provide you the information, the education as to what these things, the unintended consequences, the potential for unintended consequences, so you can help us push back. A few years ago, I was in a meeting like this, and it was right after we passed the Farm Bill. So we were very pleased that we got the Farm Bill done. Farm bills, as you all know, are very difficult. It's not Republicans and Democrats, it's regions, it's commodities. So you've got to satisfy Illinois, Iowa, the I-states. You've got to satisfy the southern states. You've got to satisfy California and the Great Plains, and they all have different issues. And then you've got the different commodities within all that, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. So you work really hard, and then, like I say, we were so proud. We had a record number of votes in the Senate. So I was at a meeting like this, and somebody said, Senator, tell me about some of the good things that you were pleased that we put in the Farm Bill. So I named, 3 or 4 things, and I turned to the young lady that assisted me with the Farm Bill at that time. I said, Skylar, did I leave out anything? And she looked at me and said, no, you didn't leave anything out. But she said, I could also give you a long list of things that we prevented from getting in the Farm Bill that would have been devastating if they had gotten in there. So it works both ways. We try and get things done. Right now, we're working really hard with your all's help to prevent some really bad things from happening. So, it's a combination of both. I'm going to get out of your way. That I used to be a member of the Lions Club. I am a member of the Lions Club. I'm an eye doctor by training. I like to be introduced as an eye doctor. That's a respectable profession. They have a very high approval rating, and I practice with my brother, who's an eye surgeon. So I was a member of the Lions Club, and we had a member that worked for Daisy BB Company, and he needed to get back to work and needed to leave at 1 o'clock, 12 to 1. And so it didn't matter who you were. You could be the governor, you could be whoever. And Walter Schrader would start clapping on you at 1 o'clock. So I'm getting clapped on. I appreciate you all. Let us know how we can help you. And again, thank you so much for all you represent, and thank you for being the leaders that you are, not only here, but the leaders in your community, which is so very important right now. Like I say, if we're going to do our best for rural America and get things moving forward, all of us are going to have to step up and do all we can to, make it such that we've got continue the great quality of life that we all enjoy so much now. So thank you.